Yo guys, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another Booty Boy Wrestling Fan Interview. Today I'm joined with my very special guest, formerly known as King Leon. Now he's just a single name, Leon. How are you doing today?
That's a hell of an intro. I'm doing pretty good, man. Dropping the king and keeping it fresh. So
That's good. How are you doing during this pandemic? Safe, healthy, all that?
yeah. I mean, honestly, I'm as healthy as I can be right now. At least I like to believe. Quarantine's been garbage for I assume 95% of people. So mentally, physically, I feel great. So I really can't complain other than that. Got a chance to wrestle a little bit during it, so that's something I can look at and give a big thumbs up on. But other than that, same stuff, different day, man. Literally.
Now, as I introduced you as formerly known as King Leon, why'd you drop the king? Because like when you're a king, you're a pretty cool guy. Like everyone's a cool king, but now you're just Leon, and it's kind of boring and basic if you think about it.
Well, all right. So first off, the king was. I actually spoke to Don earlier about this myself. The king was had a really good tenure in the beginning, but consider this: how many kings do you know of?
Not many. I don't know one. So
What do you don't? Okay,
like I know. Oh yeah.
That's what I mean. Like how many king? Like first off, I am bald. I have a beard. By the end of it, everyone's like, "Oh, you're just copying King Corbin," which I have been doing it for like 4 years now. So
and you got tattoos, and
I got
see it.
So immediately I was screwed from that moment on. But no, it's a way to evolve, man. Everyone in wrestling, whether it be personality or whether it be actual wrestler or whatever the case may be, you gotta evolve one way or another. And the only way I could do that was to get away from the crown, truthfully.
Now, what first gave you the idea of becoming King Leon when you first started wrestling?
So truth be told, I was basically like 90% of people, whether they will admit it or not, backyard wrestled. And I was a king gimmick in that time too. And I was like, when it was finally done actually doing all of it, I'm like, you know what? I think this would actually work legitimately if I learned to wrestle like for real. And I did. And I was just like, well, we're going to really, take a stab at it. If it doesn't work, then fuck it. What else can you do? But that's kind of where it came about. I was just like, I was already doing the king stuff. And then I had my buddy who was my squire at the time. And we went out and we just cut our promos and did our thing. And that was it.
Now, I don't want to focus this whole entire interview on your former character, King Leon, but I do got to ask you this question. So, because you were King Leon, were you like a big fan of the King of the Ring tournament or something?
I loved the King of the Ring tournament. Are you kidding me? I loved it. But that wasn't the reason why. The reason why I did the King thing was because when I first started doing even the garbage backyard wrestling crap, I basically tried to be this like think Edge in the sense of ultimate opportunist, and it just didn't fit. It didn't fit me. And like one of the guys that was there was like, "Oh, you should try to do a King." I'm like, no, that's stupid. And then finally he's like, no, I think it would work. So we fucking did it. I put on a fake accent and just started yelling at people, and that's all it took. So
now, I never saw you in person. I've just seen you virtually through the internet, the interweb. And one time I was watching this video, and it was like from Ashley Fox's YouTube channel. And it was like she did these beer reviews, and you were on it. And every time she said your name, you always corrected her as King Leon. It was never like she could never just say Leon. So, would you say it's kind of like the opposite now? It's just Leon because it is.
Yeah, so. I mean, the thing is like obviously there's gonna be people from who knew me before as King Leon and have my merch and this and that, and they're gonna be like, oh, that's King Leon. I'm like, no. No, it's just like now. King's dead. King's gone. For now, who knows? I mean, for a couple years down the line, maybe I'll get bored of this, and I'll just be like, screw it, I'm going to be King Leon again. But for now, just Leon. I'm going to have some fun with it and go from there. But yeah, actually, if I forgot all about that beer review. That's really funny you brought that up. I completely forgot about that.
Yeah, that was at like the beginning of like quarantine, like stuff to watch on like. I love wrestling, but I'm more of the type of I like to watch backstage stuff. So like people who have vlogs, I love watching their vlogs, and like. I'll watch some of their matches, but I'm more like I want to see what's behind the curtain because it's just so entertaining. And that's one video that I found, and I'm like, I think I'm friends with this guy on Facebook.
Yeah. No,
So,
Ashley Vox is an avid beer drinker. For anyone who does not know, loves her beer. And yeah, I forgot she actually did those reviews at Providence Wrestle Party, and she was just like, "Hey, you guys want to be in a beer review?" I'm like, "Sure do. I love beer, so let's do it."
so, what is your character now, just as Leon? What do
Well,
you pretty much do?
Well, here's the thing. So when I was King Leon the Sixth, because that was my first King thing, because I had two King things technically. When I was King Leon the Sixth, it was mostly comedy. I had a lot of comedy stuff, a lot of promos that were all comedy, a lot of showing ass in the ring. When I went to King Leon the Black Blade, which was the most recent incarnation of it, which was actually over quarantine, I tried to make it more serious so people could see that I could actually wrestle as well, not just promo work. But honestly, it kind of fell flat to me. The fans loved it. I didn't like it. It really turned into one of those things where I was like, all right, I'm trying too hard to be serious in my head when I like to do all the comedy crap. That's my favorite stuff to do. But with taking off the crown and really just being myself, I can do the comedy promos and have fun and do all the dumb shit I want. But then when I'm in the ring, I can just go and fight people and have the matches I want now, because now there's no cap or limit to what I can do.
Now, I'm not going to reveal your Facebook, but on your Facebook page, you do interviews, kind of like this, with other people of the rest of the world. What got you into doing that?
Well, during quarantine, I was going through a pretty rough time, like a lot of people, I'm sure, when it came to mental stuff. And I took a couple months off of Facebook, took a couple months off from social media, and kind of rewired myself a little bit. And I don't know, man, since I came back, I realized that, everyone wants to be bitter about what's cool. Like, if you're in wrestling, it's the cool thing to hate wrestling, and it makes no sense to me, And it just kind of turned my head to think, like, all these people who are so negative and bitter towards something they love, like, why can't you be positive about something you love and life in general? So, I mean, I started the Positive Wrestling podcast because I really wanted to, I wanted to highlight all the good in wrestling, not just the negative crap, because that's, maybe you might not know it as well, but like a lot of people like to highlight, oh, why am I here? Or, oh, this sucks, or this, that. Like, well, you should be happy you're here because you're on the fucking show, and things like that. So I think that's really important for a lot of people to remember, and that's kind of where that kind of sprung up.
Now, people obviously make mistakes when they're interviewing. Everyone does. It happens. I've made some mistakes, maybe pronouncing people's names wrong or getting the wrong thing mixed up. It happens. What was it like for you in your mind when you had the Stepdads on a couple weeks ago and you messed up their intro? What went on through your head? For
what it's worth, that one was a shocker that I messed up because I love the Stepdads.
But who doesn't? They're the Stepdads. They are,
yeah. But honestly, I mean, luckily I'm friends with both of them anyway, so it didn't really, it wasn't like, oh my God, I can't believe I messed that up. It was more of I was like, wow, way to go, Steve, good job. It's kind of one of those more than anything. But I mean, I don't really, truth be told, I don't worry about messing up during those because it really is, I make it very clear before we start recording, we're pretty much just going to shoot the shit. And we're going to talk and we're going to see what the hell we got going on and go from there, because I mean, I love those guys and they gave me crap afterwards for it, but it wasn't real crap. You know what I mean? So that kind of stuff, nothing really ran through my head. It was just kind of like, oh, well, I messed up. There's some more talking points if need be.
Now, what a lot of people, anyone, not just wrestlers, but quarantine has shut down gyms and some people built home gyms, trying to do different things to stay in shape. What have you done to stay in shape for wrestling?
Well, I mean, luckily when quarantine first started, I let myself go. I was just like, screw it. I'm going to drink a little bit and eat some crappy food with my friends and whoever's staying here, and we're just going to quarantine up and that's it. But when it started going on more, I'm like, okay, this is clearly not going to help me when I get back to the ring. So I did start to eat better and just generally, watch what I'm trying to eat more often than not. Not always successful, but I try to do that.
It happens. No big deal.
Yes, it does. It does a lot. I love me some nachos. So it pretty much turned into, okay, I got to start watching what I eat. And then I did get lucky because XWA, when things started lifting a little bit during before the summer, they started running again on Thursdays. So I still had ring time, which I got very lucky with. And then I had a couple matches over the summer as well, with a couple of different promotions with some pretty solid matches. I got wrestled Tommy Dreamer twice, which was super fun. And pretty much that, keeps you in the ring, man. Keeps your brain sharp, keeps you going. Because a lot of people don't realize, but when you're wrestling, though it is kind of like riding a bike, like, oh, I remember how to do this, you're still rusty. You know what I mean? It's still rusty. Ring rust is a very real thing.
And you could take like a month off and you still have rust.
Absolutely. So. Absolutely. And like, that's the thing. That's why people don't realize, like, when guys, you know, like myself or other people just generally go out and they're like working like 2-3 times a weekend, we need those reps. Like, those are very important for us. Like, oh my God. Yep. You can only imagine, dude. It's rough.
Mm-hmm. So this is going to be a lot of information to take in all at once, which bear with me. I have an idea for you. So when you're King Leon, you're like the face king. You're like, everyone's happy. It's all like, it's like blue sunny skies and clouds. And then when you're the Black Blade King, it's dark. Everyone's miserable, depressed. Have you ever thought of maybe coming down to the ring and one of like those king, it's like a throne, but people carry it on their shoulders. Have you ever thought of that? And like, if someone messes up, you can push them off the stage when you're the bad king, when you're the Black Blade, and when you're the good king, King Leon, you just like pat him on the back. Okay, we'll get him next time, champ.
Well, here's the thing. So, funny story. King Leon has never been a face, even as Comedy King. Not once.
Well, that's an embarrassment. Because I didn't do my research.
Don't worry about it. King Leon the Black Blade was just a way to, pretty like I said, just show more seriousness. But it was King Leon was always a heel. Mm-hmm. Though I did a lot of comedy promos as King Leon the Sixth, it was always in a pompous way. It was always a way to pretty much be like, yeah, I might be funny, but like, what are you going to say about it? You know what I mean? Like things like that. And in regards to the throne, I don't know if you can see behind me, but I actually own my own throne right there. So it's been contemplated. It's like 6 feet tall. It's a big fucking throne. But but yeah, I've contemplated some serious entrances. There was one entrance where I was supposed to actually, if quarantine didn't happen, I was supposed to come down on a horse and do a whole bunch of stuff. And I'm going to leave it at that. But it did not go as planned, obviously. So, but yeah, I've definitely had my fair share of entrance ideas. Some of them way too over budget for me, but especially being a king, you're kind of like, oh, how extravagant can I get? Well, I'm not trying to spend $3,000 today, so not that extravagant. But yeah,
I'll go to the Dollar Tree and see what I can find.
Grab some fake gold coins and throw them at the people. That's the best you're getting. But no, I mean, I've definitely contemplated the throne entrance, but again, King Corbin does it now. You know what I mean? So it's like,
yeah.
Like, now if I do it, I'm copying him, so it doesn't even matter.
So obviously that's a really nice throne. Have you ever done promos in it before?
Yes. So actually, more people have done promo pics in it than I have, even though I bought it. I'm going to leave that alone. But when I bought it, I was storing it at this place that I used to wrestle at, and everyone was taking pictures in it and posting. I'm like, guys, for the love of God, stop taking pictures in my throne. Like, that's my gimmick thing. Please. It was not a cheap chair. Like, it's just not.
Like, it doesn't look cheap. So
it's not. It was too much money. But either way, it turned into one of those things where I was like, yeah, I took a picture or two, but I haven't really gotten much use out of it. It's just like, especially you would think being a king, like, oh, you can do all this and do that. Hell, half the time I would do promos, I would do them standing up with a backdrop, and I just had the throne in the corner. So it was like, what the hell do I have this thing for? So, yeah.
Like, you walk by it every day, and you're like, why did I
buy this? Yes, exactly. It just was one of those things where, but you know what? At the time, I was making like crazy money, and I'm like, I had a lot of expendable cash. I'm like, I'm going to buy the shit out of that throne. And I did. And it came in this like giant 50-foot long truck that showed up with like this giant, like literal wooden box that had taken a crowbar to open. So that should tell you, like, when I got that, I was so excited, but I was like, damn, I don't know how I'm getting this thing upstairs. So I left it.
Hey, it's a workout. You're a big guy. You can get a workout in it.
That is a very heavy chair. Like, I'm not lifting that thing alone for long.
So I don't know about you, but I'm a not crazy super fan, but I'm a fan of Jean-Claude Van Damme, Bloodsport, the tournament of death, pretty much. Have you ever thought and given the idea to the promoters of, let's do like a Bloodsport tournament, and the winner gets to sit in that throne. Have you ever thought of that?
I've actually had promoters ask me about the throne. Pretty much like, hey, is that for rent or anything? I'm like, I mean, it can be. So, but
How much we talking? Like,
we're talking money, baby. Okay, we're gonna. But it really, yeah. I mean, I've never actually thought about pitching that. That's actually not a bad idea. But I mean, now that it's over and like I'm not doing the king thing anyway, maybe gives someone else another chance to kind of play up the king if they want to. Because God knows I'm not going back to it for a while if I do at all. So.
Mm-hmm. And they can carry that chair on their own.
No, it's coming home. That is my chair.
So during quarantine, Don Kincaid, you were on the show like half an hour ago, if I'm correct, and you mentioned that. I kind of go to him sometimes for information on wrestlers because he's gone all over New England and like the pretty much Northeast to so many wrestling events and knows so many people. I asked him a couple weeks ago when we were supposed to do an interview, information on you. He said that you filmed a promo with Ryan Frost in the middle of the woods somewhere at the beginning of quarantine. Tell us more about that and what that was about.
So it wasn't just Frost. It was me, Ryan Frost. I don't know if you know who these guys are, but obviously Insane Dick Lane.
Heard of him?
Okay. Mighty Bosch and Sid Morgan.
No.
Okay. Either way, they're all friends of mine, generally. And I decided that I wanted to do something early on in quarantine that was it was a cinematic. It was a 3-part. It was like probably 5-6 minutes apiece, nothing crazy. But it was called the Black Blade Wars. It was more or less just based on the fact that I wanted to kind of get friends together and write some lore while we can't wrestle. You know, like something to really give yourself some backstory and And it was fun, man. It was a really good time, especially like I love all the people I got like that were involved in it, and it just I pretty much made it clear to Dawn it was like this. Some of it, a lot of it was for the fans, but a lot of it was for us too because we were all just going stir crazy. Like when you go from wrestling every weekend 2-3 times a weekend to nothing at all, it drives you mad. So like it's such a big part of your life, and then just to go from everything to nothing was like, all right, we got to get together and do something. But it was pretty much just a whole lore piece, 3-part story with Frost, and he had a pretty big role in it up till the end, and yeah.
Now, I can't really say much because I'm not a professional wrestler. I went to one open house in Connecticut at Tessa Street, but I don't have much knowledge. Oh, but I know for most wrestlers, as you just said, you go from it every single weekend to pretty much nothing, maybe like once every 2 months now. How long did it take you to crack before you just got really bored of quarantine?
A month.
A month?
I was done in about a month. I was not, like I said, my first 2 months pretty much just consisted of me hanging out with friends and drinking and eating crap. So it was just
nachos.
Yeah, nachos, and that should tell you enough about how good of a time it was because we were just trying to kill time at that point. When everything finally started lifting a little bit though, like late spring, early summer, that's when it started to feel a little more normal because, like I said, I was wrestling again. Even if it wasn't a lot, I was still wrestling. And then it just kind of I think it was around September when it finally ended again, where they're like, okay, back to restrictions, and now it's just kind of like, well, now what? You know what I mean? Now we're sitting around doing nothing again.
Now, you said that you really like nachos. You like eating them.
Love nachos.
Do you like the nacho fries from Taco Bell?
Those things are delicious.
Funny story, I just ate them like half an hour ago. So
smart man. I mean, those aren't real nachos, though. That's the thing. Like, people don't realize.
Yeah, they're really not.
You got to make. All right, so here's the fun thing. I'm going to give everyone a little inside scoop on the nachos that you got to make. I'm just going to throw it out there. But you grab yourself some nice nacho cheese Doritos, and you throw a little bit of salsa on there. Also, a little bit of con queso on there, and you throw a bunch of sharp cheddar on there, and you melt that bitch up for about 2 minutes in the microwave. And then you get some sour cream, and you go to town.
Nice. Well, there you have it, folks. Leon's, the Black Blade Leon's own nacho recipe.
Definitely didn't think I'd be talking about nachos, but I mean, I'm all about nachos. So.
Well, you brought him up. Like, that's what you said.
I'm like, about it. I'm just saying.
So before we end, I mean, we are going to hit 20 minutes, so thank God. I didn't know how this interview was going to go.
Yeah, it's all good,
but before we end, I like to flip the script a little bit and have my guests ask me questions. So, do you have anything you'd like to ask me?
Oh, okay. Yeah. You know what? What got you into wrestling?
Uh, actually, my anniversary is coming up for 10 years in like the next week, I think. My dad took me and my brother to a house show at the Oxford Springfield, Mass. So it was the Civic Center, I think, or the Mass Mutual Center now. That's what it was called.
Okay.
And I just liked it. I mean, that was the first time I also got lost with me and my brother because he thought like, oh, maybe we can meet him. And me and my brother got lost, and my dad split up from us. So we were just running around trying to find him. But I went home the next day and I looked up wrestling, and I found this big thing called the WWE. And then that next night was actually the Royal Rumble in Boston when they did that terrible 40-man Royal Rumble, if you remember.
Yeah. The Alberto Del Rio.
Uh-huh. And so I was just so interested in it, and I'm like, this looks cool. You have like this little box with ropes around it, and people are just chasing each other and hurting each other. I'm like, I want to do this. So I was a fan of WWE. I mean, still am. I just stopped watching it. It's not good. It's not good wrestling.
No.
And then 2017, I found independent wrestling, Pioneer Valley Pro Wrestling, which is like 5 minutes away from me. They
Yep.
perform at the mall most of the time. And I went to my first independent show, and I'm like, this is like the ground roots of wrestling. Like, this is where everyone goes and starts at, and that's how hopefully most wrestlers make it big. But they also don't get treated very well like they should. So,
Fair enough.
but it was just cool, and I prefer independent wrestling way more than world wrestling.
I
WWE,
can
major
definitely,
companies.
yeah, I agree with you on that one.
I mean, like,
I have one last question for you.
oh, that's fine.
Who is your favorite wrestler of all time?
John Cena.
Really? Just like that?
Yeah, he wasn't the first wrestler I ever saw, but he was just cool, and then he was from Massachusetts, and then he went to Springfield College, which is literally down the street from me. And supposedly everyone that goes to Springfield, even if they're like 20 years old and it's the first year, apparently they know him. So, I mean, I find that hard to believe, but everyone knows John Cena apparently. So, but yeah, he's my favorite. I just look up to him. He follows me on Twitter, so it's pretty cool.
That is pretty
Is there anything that you like to promote on this interview? Social media, anything?
I mean, I'll be honest with you. I think right now I'm just kind of. I mean, you can look for me on Twitter at Create the End. Instagram, I believe, is the same thing. Create the End. And other than that, you know what? I don't mind if you want to find me on Facebook. I'm Stephen Baker. I don't care. You can find me and talk to me. Pretty approachable. And yeah, that's pretty much it, man.
Now, before we go, I do want to say this. If people contact you, because you did say you're pretty approachable, I want to tell everyone that is a lie, because if you message him like at the beginning of December, he's not going to get back to you until February.
You did not message me in December.
No, that's just an example, because it took so long for you to respond to me.
You messaged me in December. I'm like, I would have answered by then. I will say, no, here's the thing. I am approachable. There's no doubt about that. But I will admit sometimes I do suck with Messenger. That I will.
Yeah, that's what my point was. Well, thank you so much, Leon, Stephen Baker.
Yeah, it's
whatever you go by. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for understanding with the car thing, because it's just different. And it's funny, I just got home now. So, yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for watching. Please remember to like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next interview. Peace out.